Hi. So this is called the $30,000 pocket dial. I'm not going to be ranting about something in the industry today or trying to give younger technicians who have just started advice on anything here. I'd like to create a series of memoir videos. This may seem weird because I'm only 24, but in the pursuit of doing what I want to do with my life in the manner in which I feel it should be done, I've gone through quite a path and quite a journey. And it's led me down a rabbit hole where I truly feel like in the past 7 years of my life, I've done more than a lot of other people have in 60 or 70 years. I'm not saying I've accomplished more. I'm not saying I've done better. I just feel like I have experienced a vast array of different things that a lot of people just don't experience or don't run into in 7 years. So I want to start documenting this. One of the things that I've been disappointed in myself for is that in spite of all the ridiculous crap that I've gone through, I have never really made any effort to document it. And I want to start fixing that. So this is called the $30,000 pocket dial. And let's put some history here. I started this as a house call based business. I didn't used to have an office or a store. I used to go to somebody's home, I used to perform a service, and I used to get paid and leave. I only offered services that I knew could be done within an hour visiting a client, so that I would always be making money instead of creating hassle for myself. And my friend Jake worked at a recording studio on 30th Street, and he was the manager. I used to have a joking title for him, fail manager. Not because he was a failure, but rather because his job was to manage the failures of others and turn a clusterfuck into a positive situation. And I'd hang out with him, and we'd go to lunch after he was done with the session or whatever it is he was doing, and I would be there to watch a clusterfuck as it unfolded. Now, he is an amazing engineer, he's an amazing producer, he's a great artist, he's a great head of a record, his own small record label, but he's not a tech, so sometimes things would come up that I'm sure I would be tripped up in certain sessions if somebody asked me to make something sound a certain way, because that's not what I do for a living, and he would be tripped up if somebody said, why is this not working? And something that may take him 10 or 20 minutes would take me 10 or 20 seconds. And I'd help him out because we were friends, and that's just how it was. Sometimes me helping the place out, since he was the manager, would interfere with my business. So I would tell somebody, I can't come to you, you would have to come here. And I didn't really feel bad doing that because, come on, essentially it's 30th and 8th Avenue. You could take the A, B, C, D, E, F, N, Q, R, W, 1, 2, 3, every train came here. And most people were okay with that. And the custodian noticed, and eventually the owners noticed, and they talked to me about it. And the owner, honestly, for all that could be said about these people at this point in time, for everything they've done, I think that they started with good intentions. They wanted to start a good place, and they wanted good things to happen there. The problem is they were trying to do this, but they had the knowledge to do this, and they had the money to do something in my, I would have to put my hand in my basement to represent that on a bar graph. And this created problems, and one of them was technical problems. Nothing ever worked. It was a combination of lack of knowledge and lack of money. I told them, I will make everything in this place work all the time. It's always going to work perfectly. Nobody is ever going to complain about something being delayed because of a technical issue. Nobody's ever going to say, I would be handing you this $1,500 right now, but this, that, and the other thing didn't work in my session, so yeah. That was not going to happen, and that was a lofty goal. And I'm going to say something that's going to sound kind of egomaniacal, but it was true. I was too good for that place. As a technician, I was too good. I had started working on electronics when I was 8, 9 years old. I worked at another studio when I was younger. When I was 17 and 18 years old, I had an internship at Avatar Studios that turned into a tech job, where I essentially had my head beat in until I was a good professional technician that could stand up to making rooms work to a $3,000 a day standard and level of quality. And after that, I had worked with other people who were good mentors, and after that I went out on my own to do my own freelance audio tech work. And I was good. I mean, whereas at this place, the people are coming to me with fucking broken, little KRK monitors with yellow cones. I used to be reconing Lansings and recoiling tweeters. Somebody would say, my Digi 03 is not syncing, whatever. I used to be dealing with I used to be dealing with broadcast consoles. I used to be figuring out, busing issues in Neve 8088s. I used to be fixing Pultecs. I used to be fixing, real amplifiers, not the little fucking piece of shit headphone amp they call a self-powered speaker that is a KRK. Not to say that they're bad for the $200 or whatever you get them for, but if you look at a schematic of it, it's a fucking headphone amplifier being. I digress. I'm not trying to bash KRK here. They make some decent stuff for the money, but my point is, I was used to working to a different standard of quality, and I was well versed in how to handle many different issues. You are not going to find a technician on Craigslist, I'm telling you right now, that's going to recoil a speaker instead of go to the JBL authorized distributor downstairs and say you need to buy this for $70. And this made me incredibly valuable. I made guitar amps that had bad tubes continue to work and continue to sound good for over 2 years of time without the owner spending a dime on maintenance. That place spent maybe $100 on maintenance while I was there in 2 years, and across 13 rooms, from small monthly tenant rooms to the $150 an hour beautiful recording rooms, everything just worked, and I credit myself with that. And so I struck up a deal with them. I had said, I will make everything here work all the time, but I want to be able to use this space as my office. There's 1,000 square feet here. I would like to be able to have this, to be used as a client area. I want to be able to do my repairs over here. I want to be able to do shipping over here when I need be, and I want to be able to say that, this is on occasion I need to be able to say that, this is my workspace. And it worked. But the problem is, for whatever good intentions he had 2 problems. The first was lack of business sense. Now, I sympathize with this because I've also lacked business sense at times, and my lack of business sense has led me to make poor business decisions that I still, to this day, several years later, am recovering from. The second problem he had was a drug problem. Now, I know how hard it is to pay for your business mistakes, just, pay your rent every month, pay your employees, and pay everything when you've made a mistake that may cost 10, 20, 30, 40, or 50,000 bucks. I feel that pain. I can just imagine what it's like to have that pain on top of a $200, $250 a night habit. Needless to say, by the end of 2010, he was not going to be the owner of this business anymore. Somebody else was. And this other company came in, and they did a good job of paying all the back debts. They even paid me back $300 or $400 that this guy who had good intentions that became a piece of shit owed me. And they had their own idea of how to run the place. The thing is, they did different things. They did, record label-like things, promotion-like things. They did not know how to run a recording studio. But it was, damned if that was going to stop them from telling everybody who was there how to do it. The place was not failing because it didn't know how to run as a studio. The place was failing because the money that was supposed to be going to the landlord was going up somebody's nose. That was the primary problem. And they were saying all these things that they were going to change. I'm just going to give one example that anybody who's an audio engineer who's watching may find interesting. They wanted to take studio monitors out of one of the rooms. It was a very small studio room. It was about the size of this office. And they wanted to put JBL Eon speakers in that room to be used. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that anybody's audio preferences should not be listened to. If Joe Ciccarelli or Rich Costi or Roy Hendrickson say, I'm going to use these JBL Eons for this session, I will gladly put them there. Because I'm sure that these competent and experienced engineers have a specific reason that they are requesting a $100 PA speaker that with a fucking 15 or 18-inch driver should be used in a room that is the size of a fucking bathroom. I won't question them. But I will question you, the person who's never engineered a session, as to why I should make this change. And the reason is because my ability to continue to use this space depends on its financial viability to you. If you don't make money off of this space, you're going to get rid of it, and I'm not going to have a space to work for free. So I would make mild suggestions, and these mild suggestions would often be ignored. What further led to conflict here was the fact that the interns and the employees of this facility looked to me for guidance and advice. If something wasn't working, they did not ring up these people that knew how to promote something on a MySpace or a Facebook page on how to, they didn't ask them, how do we recoil this tweeter so this client will pay $30 an hour for their rehearsal? So since they sound good, they asked me. And I was the one making these things happen. And this created more of a rift. Now, eventually I get, and also the guy who was irritated at me kind of had his own ego and power trip and was, just a typical textbook Urban Dictionary music industry douchebag at the time. Now, he calls me and he says some things and I just nod and say my yeses. and I'm cleaning the shower in my apartment. And I stop what I'm doing and I interrupted to talk to my friend at the time. And I clean off my phone, but I get some water on it. So my phone decides to pocket dial him. As while I'm putting it back in my pocket, it redials the last number because it's wet. And I go on for 10 minutes to bitch and complain about this person. From the comfort of my home, I'm saying, they know how to run this type of business. Why are they telling me how to run this type of business? I wouldn't tell them how to do this. It doesn't make sense. The people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to X are telling me how to do X. You do Y, I do X, and let's be happy. Now, I'm sure I said some other crappy things about the dude, or threw a couple of insults in there, because I was in the comfort of my home. And it pocket dialed him, and he was with his boss at the Grammys, and put me on speaker in a room filled with people who all heard what I had to say. And it was over. I had called the guy back. It went straight to voicemail, of course. And I didn't apologize. It came down to me saying, I'm sorry that you heard what you heard. At the end of the day, it's still your business. You can do what you want, and I will help you to achieve what you want. But here's why I felt the way I felt, and here's why I said what I said.
So, yes, I am editing this the next day, and because there's one point that I did not include. The apology. He said, well, I would be interested in having him back to do X, Y, and Z, but he never apologized. I said, I'm sorry you heard what you heard, but I'm not actually sorry. And a lot of people don't apologize properly. Michael Carvin, who's an absolutely amazing drummer and just an all-around amazing human being, used to say, most people, they just bump into you on the street and they go, sorry. Like, who's sorry? Are they sorry? Are they just saying sorry for the fuck of it? Should you be sorry that they bumped into you? Most people don't say, I'm sorry. Most people don't have real apologies. And another guy named Dino that I used to work with made up another great point on apologies. Him and Michael Carvin got along very well with one another. He brought up on apologies that most people, they are not sorry for what they did. They're sorry for the consequence. Let's say you go home and your wife is banging another dude. And, once the dude leaves and she gets dressed and she goes, oh, I'm sorry. She's not sorry that she banged the other dude. She's sorry that she now has to find a new place to live. She's sorry that the husband that she got along with is now no longer going to be with her because of what she did. She's not sorry for what she did. She's sorry for the consequences. When somebody steals and they get caught and they go, I'm sorry or sorry, they're just saying that because that's just the right thing to say. They're not saying it because they're actually sorry. I apologize when I am truly actually sorry. He heard what he heard without the express permission to hear it. What I said was said in the comfort of my own home. And I pay $1,800 a month to live in my home. If you cannot bitch about your boss in the comfort of your $1,800 apartment, then where the fuck can you complain about your boss? I explained why I felt the way I did, but I sure as fuck am not sorry about it. Because that's my opinion. For me to say I'm sorry would essentially be me cutting my backbone, or me assuming that that guy has absolutely no intelligence. And, maybe he doesn't, but I'm not going to say that to somebody's face. I feel like apologizing when you've done something so offensive, and you still mean everything that you said is just silly. And, the owner who was standing next to him called Jake and is like, who the fuck is this guy? Who does he think he is? Does he know who I am? We're gonna get him. Does he know what I can do? We're gonna kill him and his fucking family. Blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. By the way, a side note. If you ever threaten my family and are serious about it, I will take your Grammy, I will fuck you with it, I will film it with this $300 JVC camera, I will upload it to YouTube in 1080p, and I will play it in front of your family. Fuck you for threatening my family. Okay, but let's go back to the story. Yeah, I wasn't going to be using that place anymore for business. So this is where I move on to the $30,000 pocket dial. Now my business had been growing small, in increments for about 2 years. I can't run this out of my apartment anymore. I sure as hell tried, and I noticed by the time I brought the 30th carton of parts to my apartment that this is just not working out. I had a big apartment. It's about 900 to 1,000 square feet with 25-foot ceilings. I could fit all this stuff there. But it's just not the same as having a centralized location. I can't have parts picked up by the post office that I sell online because they come between 9 and 6. You can pay $15 to $30 a day for them to come within a 1-hour time frame, but I can't afford that at the time.
I need to be able to do house calls to meet all these other clients that used to come to me. So I have to carry things to the post office. And amongst all the things I could discuss here, the day I realized this was not going to work was the day when I needed to accept a phone call. I forget if it was a really happy customer or a sale or an angry customer, whatever it was. There was somebody I was expecting a call from, and I had to take this call. In general, I just had a standard that when somebody calls my business during standard hours, I am picking up. It's not going to voicemail, and I am picking it up the phone. And so I try to answer it with my Bluetooth. You can't do this. I've tried it before. And I'm carrying my 24 boxes to the post office. It's 93 degrees, and I was feeling really tired that day. And I knew that if these boxes were put down for even 1 second, they were not getting taken back up. There were 24 boxes taped together. I would untape them using my keys and cut the tape at the post office and hand it into the window. So I had to figure out how to answer the phone. And I start banging my head against the side of a fucking van while I'm carrying the boxes, and I finally hit the button after injuring my head and my face. And answer the phone call. And I noticed at this point, I need an office. I really need an office. But I'm 20, 21, 22 years old at the time, and I didn't have any credit. I didn't have any history of renting commercial real estate, and I had maybe $3,000 or $4,000 in the bank. What the fuck am I going to do? I didn't know what I was going to do. And this is a turning point in my life. I could either accept the fact that I was always working behind or underneath people who had become successful through easy means. Let's say they got an article written about them and they ran with it, or they got a business loan, or their partner gave up their share of the business because of a family issue. I never had that. I didn't have that luxury at this point of just being handed success that I saw so many other people have. I was always working for people who had just been given their success. And this was a point of great contention to me and to Jake. And this was a turning point. I could either continue to be underneath the foot of somebody else, or I could decide to be accountable and responsible for my own success. So I took this $3,000 or $4,000 and I went to try to get myself a space to work out of and make successful. And I didn't find shit for 2 or 3 months. But I had a good reputation on this block for all the places I had done service for and done work for. And thankfully, this reputation helped me find a space at Planet to Planet. It was MBK and Alicia Keys' old room that they had just moved out of. It was $3,300 a month. This was perfect because it had a great storage space for all my stuff, and it already had shelves and it had a buzzer. And also had amazing potential to be a good studio for Jake. And also for me, because I'd be charging rent for everybody who used it. And I put a couple of hundred, couple of thousand into construction for the space as time went on. Now, here's why I call this the $30,000 pocket dial. There were a couple of spaces that were opening up in 2012, and I wasn't sure if I was going to try to take them or not. I was on the fence at the time as to whether or not I wanted to go from being a business with no overhead to being a store. But these spaces were opening up. And now, I could have rode out my free time to these spaces if only I had kept my fucking mouth shut. Instead, I paid rent for May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December, plus construction costs on a $3,300 a month office. So I just pissed away $30,000 because I just couldn't keep my fucking mouth shut. $30,000 pocket dial. Now, that was not all bad, because when I got to this space and I took it, I talked to my friend Jake about it, who had been working at that other studio. Now, Jake at the time, let me tell you about him, he was building his business as an engineer and a producer, and also as the head of a small record label that he had self-founded. He wasn't exactly making a living off of the label, mostly off of the whole engineering and producing part. And he was good at it. But as most people who start out in this industry, he didn't have a huge client base. Or the clients that he had didn't have a lot of money. So he didn't, and also he got a lot of his clients based on the studio that was already getting business. Now, he was at a point at this point where most of the clients coming to the studio were clients calling his phone, not the studio phone. And it was about time that he started taking advantage of this. It's still really hard to make that jump, because if you're a staff engineer or a staff manager of a studio, the salary is not great, but that's a salary that allows you to pay your rent. You control the rooms. You control the rates for the rooms and which one you get to an extent, more than if you're just booking time at another studio. If you book time at another studio and your artist no-shows, you're in a different shithole than if you're just booking time at the studio that you're the booking person for, and they no-show. I digress. It was time for him to move on. And I remember having a meeting with him that night, saying, when we were there, and John Grossbart had left the room to allow us to deliberate about what we wanted to do with the space. I said, you can either keep working for this place that's eventually going to spit you out, or you can start working towards your own success. I can't offer you the same things they are. I'm not going to be able to be as fair at first. I don't even know what I'm going to offer you or what I'm going to expect of you. I'm going to need you to put in as much work as possible, regardless of how fair it may seem to you. And the only stipend I can give you is $500 a month. But I need you to be able to do everything necessary to help me with this. And this is not just for my success. You're going to be building your success. You're not going to be building somebody else's success. You're going to be building yours. And you're going to be building it out of this space. I have maybe $3,000 or $4,000 in the bank. I am emptying my bank account, emptying my assets into this place. And I'm also going to bring everything that I have, every supply. I'm going to change my Google, my Yelp, and all this crap to represent the fact that I work out of here. So if I don't make this work, I'm fucked. But I'm going to allow you to have something that you wouldn't otherwise. I rented him the space for dirt cheap for his own sessions. And this was an amazing fucking studio. You're talking like a 700 square foot control room that was, it was beautifully treated. The live room was bigger than this fucking office. It was silently ventilated. Now, I know you guys who are used to recording at Avatar and Quad and Electric Lady are used to this, but here in, $50 to $70 an hourville in 2011 and 12 and 13, as, the recording industry goes to shit, ISO booths are not ventilated, much less quietly. They are just not ventilated. So you have an artist that's paying $60 an hour to record in this room that is, where they're just breathing in their own carbon dioxide and sweating. I had this room where I could put it to 70 to 75 degrees in the middle of summer. You could yawn, stretch, you could fucking run around in this booth. And it was perfectly treated, not some Auralex bullshit foam. It was Owens Corning 703. You had bass traps in place. It was good. It sounded amazing. It was comfortable. It was beautiful. And I will give you this space for, I think it was something like $20 an hour. It was something ridiculous. And I was bringing also some gear to help out. And yeah, and it was a strange, uncanny set of circumstances where everything came together. I had a middle-aged person, Ricky, who was helping me with shipping. And I had John and Jason, two technicians who did not ever work in recording music studios before, sitting at a table right next to singers and rappers recording their music. I had an audio engineer sitting there recording music while I had an Upper East Side socialite walk through a cloud of smoke to get to this back room with a little sheep on the door to get their computer repaired. And it all worked in harmony. There's something about knowing that you are paying $120 to $130 a day to be there that really changes your mentality. When you know that you are not going to be able to continue your life next month if this doesn't work. It's amazing how quickly you make it work. And I'm happy that that I was kicked out. I'm happy that pocket dial happened. I'm happy that my phone became liquid damaged because it gave me the balls to take accountability and responsibility for my life and my success and stop making excuses and stop saying this person has that because of this person has that because of this. Maybe that's true, but there are also people out there that took chances that I wasn't willing to take because I was too conservative. And I'm glad that I learned to stop being such a bitch and to just finally go out there and do something. That was risky. And I'm glad I made that risk because making that risk made me realize that I should try to become even more of a legitimate business. And that's what got me to open a store. And that's what got me to hire staff. A lot of bad things happened in 2010 and 2011. My mother had committed suicide. I had figured out about some personal health problems that I didn't really pay attention to that wound up plaguing me later. I made poor business decisions that still affect me today. And a lot of bad things happened that I don't enjoy talking about outside of those things. In spite of that, I have to say that 2011 was one of the best years of my life because I stopped being a bitch and I started taking accountability and responsibility for my lack of success and for gaining success. And I started working towards building an empire based on my ideals and my morals and doing it my way And I also am glad that I helped inspire one or two other people to start doing that along with me, and to see them free themselves from the chains of working for people who had success handed to them or given to them easily. To branch out on your own and get away from that was a great experience, and only second to working alongside great other people like John and Ricky and Jake and Jason, and for all I may say making fun of certain people at certain times when it's appropriate. Those people were not just acquaintances or employees or coworkers; they were friends. And watching Jake record an artist and make money for himself that would have otherwise been going to another studio. While a 23-year-old or 26-year-old socialite from the Upper East Side comes to get their MacBook fixed, while some producer is smoking some blunt in the lobby, while John and Jason are fixing machines, while I'm calling somebody to try to get them to buy 100 screens. You know what? All this happening under the same roof, it just doesn't seem like something that would work. But the fact that it did and worked and ran beautifully, and that all these people that would otherwise not really meet each other were getting along and cross-pollinating their ideas, that was an amazing and humbling experience for me. And it was a uniting experience, and it's an experience that that's very hard to describe and very hard to recreate. So for all the things that went wrong with 2011, the people that were a part of making that experience, I thank you, and for making it one of the best years of my life. Right now, I may not be where I was had I not made that $30,000 pocket dial. I might still be, leeching space off of a place based on my reputation as a technician. Not really building a name for myself, not building an empire for myself or a business where my name was on the door and not somebody else's. I may still be working for people who hadn't, just been given their success, or had received their success through luck, who hadn't truly earned it. And I would be working under those people and resenting those people until I died, if I hadn't been kicked out of it. And right now, for all the problems I have in life, I have an amazing staff of amazing people. For any of the complaints that I have, the Milan, the technician, Steve, the assistant technician, and Vinieta, the receptionist, you guys are a team that I truly appreciate being a part of. You're not employees. It says that on payroll, but you're coworkers and friends. And I appreciate the opportunity to have met the people that I did in 2011, and I appreciate the people that I've had the opportunity to meet and employ now. And this all would not have happened had I not had a water-damaged fucking phone in February of 2011. So that's the $30,000 pocket dial for you.